Next on News 4 Tucson at noon, breaking news about a GOP candidate dropping out of the race. Plus, a Tucson lawmaker battling controversies now on the House floor. What Daniel Patterson faces today. And the teen birth rate drops dramatically across the country. The reasons experts say it's happening. A streetcar project shutting down more roads where you need to watch out during your commutes.
A weather buffet over the next 7 days. We're talking about warm temperatures, gusty winds, even some rain. Your forecast is coming up.
News 4 Tucson at noon is next.
Live, this is News 4 Tucson at noon.
Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. I'm Allison Alexander. We have breaking news at noon. Rick Santorum is out of the race. He's suspending his campaign for the presidential nomination. The former Pennsylvania senator has just made the announcement in his home state, 2 weeks ahead of the GOP presidential primary there. Santorum faced a tough fight in his home state against Mitt Romney. Analysts say this will clear the path for Romney's nomination at the Republican convention later this year. Now to a developing story we've been following about the ethics complaints against Representative Daniel Patterson. The Arizona House Ethics Committee meets today about the Tucson lawmaker. This all comes from the domestic violence allegations brought on by Patterson's former girlfriend, plus a report from independent investigators recommending he be expelled from the House. Today is also the deadline for Patterson to file a response to a report submitted last week by those House-hired investigators. News 4 Tucson's Greg DeGrando is live in Phoenix. Greg, what's happening on the House floor today?
Well, Allison, the Ethics Committee met briefly this morning without Patterson in attendance. They talked about just what's at stake, and that is the removal of Patterson from the House of Representatives. They also went over the number of allegations that are documented in the ethics report. Now, Patterson did submit a response to that report, and I'm told it's fairly lengthy, so the committee adjourned so they have time to read it all over, but they did say they will be taking action on this sometime today. Meanwhile, Patterson is here at the Capitol. He has been on the House floor voting, all while facing some serious allegations, including verbal abuse, assaults, harassment of staff and lobbyists, even drug use. Patterson, on the other hand, denies it all. In an op-ed done early this morning, he says the report is based on hearsay, anonymous sources, and lies. Now, over the past couple weeks, Patterson has been very cordial, calm, and collected with the media, but he does have a history of many of the allegations that he is facing, confrontations and loud outbursts. Now, this is video that you're seeing here back from 2004, well before he was in the legislature. Now, this is at a game and fish meeting regarding mountain lions. Patterson, who worked for the Center for Biological Diversity, had to be escorted out after yelling and causing a disturbance. Now, these are the types of outbursts the Ethics Committee is looking at, not this one specifically, but they describe similar cases on the House floor and in the committees, and that is all documented in the ethics report. Now, the committee says that they will be taking action on this item sometime this afternoon. Patterson, we also spoke with him briefly. He says he will be addressing the media also sometime this afternoon. We hope to have that for you guys coming up at 5 o'clock. We're live in Phoenix. I'm Greg DeGrando, News 4 Tucson.
All right, looking forward to it. Thanks, Greg. Arizona lawmakers in the House are also scheduled to hold their final vote today on an anti-abortion bill. The bill would ban abortions after 20 weeks of pregnancy. It would also require the state to set up a website with images of fetuses at various stages of development. If approved by lawmakers, the bill would head to Governor Jan Brewer's desk. She is expected to sign it. And new at noon, the Arizona Senate could also approve legislation today to allow people to carry guns into public buildings where they're currently banned. If it passes, that bill would then go to Governor Brewer, who vetoed a similar bill last year. Supporters say the bill would protect gun owners' rights and allow them to defend themselves. Now, critics call the bill an unfunded mandate on local governments. Across the country, the number of babies born to teenagers is dropping, especially right here in Arizona. The new government report says that teen births are at their lowest level in nearly 70 years. The number in Arizona is 29%. The nationwide average, though, is just 9%. Analysts say more teens are using contraception like condoms and birth control pills or just waiting to have sex. Now, later on News 4 Tucson at 4, we will hear more from local experts about this drop in the pregnancy rates. More road closures and shutdowns in Tucson as crews work on the modern streetcar project. Construction will end by the middle of next year, and the streetcar will be up and running by that October. Eventually, the streetcar will connect the University of Arizona Medical Center to the west side of downtown. News 4 Tucson's Larissa Wall is live near Congress Street, where workers shut down the road today. Larissa.
Yeah, this was the first day, but certainly not the last that many downtown drivers came across this sign on Congress. Now, in fact, it's actually going to be a closure for 4 to 5 months while crews perform underground utility work for the modern streetcar. Congress is completely shut to all traffic from Stone until Toole, and people in the area can expect to see construction taking place daily from 6 a.m. until 3 p.m. Police officers were on hand this morning to help direct traffic through some of the major intersections. Of course, there was quite a lot of backup on Toole and some of the other roads in the downtown area. Here's a look at what some of the drivers had to say.
It's going to cause a lot of backup. I know it's added almost 10 minutes to my commute to work.
So far, I think it's pretty smooth.
Is it?
It's going very smoothly.
I work right up there, and this whole thing's just a mess. It just seems like there seems to be no prior planning.
This is ridiculous. It's going to be a long year and a half.
I work on Prince, and I'm getting the traffic there from the construction, and now this construction, so it's going to take me, I'd say 45 minutes or so to get to work.
And there is a detour in place, which will take you along Toole to Alameda, and then you can use Stone, Church, or Granada. 6th Avenue is also converted to two-way traffic to aid through the area. Now, there's also going to be periodic intersection closures on Congress at 6th Avenue and 5th Avenue. And once construction is done on this stretch, it'll move west and close off Stone to Granada. Reporting live downtown, Larissa Wall, News 4 Tucson.
Thanks, Larissa. In the meantime, expect the road to be shut down for the second day on 4th Avenue. It's the first big closure along the route of the new modern streetcar. 4th Avenue is closed between 6th Street and University. New at noon, U.S. Marshals have captured 24-year-old Zane Williams in San Diego. He's been wanted for a possible connection to the murder of a man in Midtown. An investigation shows he and Javier Johansson were fighting at a party. Then last month, police got a call about an incident at an apartment between Fort Lowell and Glen. That's where officers found Johansson's body. Williams is in a California jail waiting for extradition. The Tucson Unified School District Board may decide whether to renew the contract of its Mexican-American Studies director. Earlier this year, state officials declared the program violates state law. TUSD voted to suspend the classes. That led to student protests and walkouts. Today, board members and Representative Raul Grijalva are expected to deliver a letter to TUSD headquarters regarding the handling of the program.
It's a different day, but the sneeze meter continues to be in that high category. We scale it 0 to 10, 0 the lowest, 10 the highest. Do you want to guess where it's at over the next 72 hours? 10 today, 10 tomorrow, and we're going to add gusty winds into that recipe for that sneeze meter, and a 10 as well for Thursday. Juniper, ash, and mulberry, the big pollen problem makers here across southern Arizona. Also not helping the fact it's warm out there, had all that pollen kind of blooming and whatnot. 85 right now, Tucson, 70 south and east of the metro. Also into the mid 80s for Marana. Casa Grande at 86. And we're going to top out at 90 for a daytime high. Mostly sunny skies, a southwest wind around 10 to 15 miles an hour. 10 o'clock tonight, upper 60s for Tucson, low 60s from Nogales to Douglas, 65 in Safford. And waking up tomorrow morning on your Wednesday under mostly clear skies, 58 Tucson, 52 Sierra Vista, and 49 down in Douglas. Changes brewing in the forecast. We'll talk about that. And what was that ring around the sun earlier? We'll explain coming up in a few minutes.
Thank you, Jeff. In annual events taking over the university tonight, it is Take Back the Night, and it's reminding the community to speak out against sexual violence. The event is from 5:30 until 8:30. One march starts at the MLK Student Center and another starts at Time Market, both meeting at Geronimo Plaza, the corner of Euclid and University. The event includes speakers and performance artists, plus the opportunity for survivors to share their stories. A panel has moved to disbar Maricopa County's former top prosecutor for failed corruption investigations both he and Sheriff Joe Arpaio conducted. Both the attorney and the Maricopa County Sheriff are accused of targeting officials they had arguments with. They say they were trying to root out corruption, but the targets say the cases were trumped-up charges. Arpaio does not face any punishment in this case, but he faces other drama involving racial profiling accusations. The feds say they can back up allegations that his office racially profiled against Latinos. The Justice Department says the information is in records from Arpaio's own office and lawsuits. New at noon, a federal report on the deadly crash at an air show is out, and the feds say pilots should test plane modifications and possibly wear flight suits. Last September, a plane crashed into spectators at the Reno National Championship air races, killing 11 people, including the pilot. Today, the National Transportation Safety Board made the recommendations as part of an investigation into the crash. The board says the plane was going about 530 miles per hour and suspect the high gravitational forces made the pilot pass out before the deadly impact. Flight suits would protect pilots from those G-forces. Still to come on News 4 Tucson at noon, Syria and a ceasefire. What Senator John McCain says about the violence overseas. And a website kicking up controversy why a man accused of a deadly shooting has put himself online. Dangers at the dentist? A new study says too many x-rays are a bad thing. Keep it right here. News 4 Tucson at noon. We'll be right back.
You're watching News 4 Tucson, Southern Arizona's first local news in high definition. You're watching News 4 Tucson with Allison Alexander. Meteorologist Jeff Beamish with your True View HD forecast. This is News 4 Tucson at noon.
Welcome back. A developing story about a ceasefire deadline that has arrived in Syria, but signs seem to show it's in jeopardy. This amateur video shows one battered city. Smoke and flames are seen from damaged buildings while shelling can be heard in the background. Activists say that Syrian troops shelled at least 2 cities. In the meantime, Kofi Annan arrived in Turkey for a visit to Syrian refugee camps. Annan helped broker a deal with the Syrian president to accept a peace plan and agree to today's ceasefire deadline. U.S. Senators John McCain and Joe Lieberman are also visiting overseas, touring another Syrian refugee camp in Turkey. They also met with the leaders of the Syrian opposition. Both lawmakers called for more international support to opposition forces.
These other nations in this region will not act as strongly as they should and want to unless the United States takes the leadership. That's our moral responsibility and our strategic opportunity.
Activists say that since the fighting started 1 year ago, 9,000 people have been killed. A new website from the man accused of shooting and killing a 17-year-old in Florida is drawing a lot of attention. The website allows people to donate money for the Neighborhood Watch volunteer person who has admitted to shooting Trayvon Martin. George Zimmerman says he shot Martin in self-defense after following him in a gated community on February 26. The lack of an arrest has inspired nationwide protests and some claims of racism, which Zimmerman's supporters deny. A registry shows that the website was created last weekend.
It's a little troubling, but you know, Mr. Zimmerman will have his day in court. He should have a fair day in court, but we just want simple justice right now. But we're a little disturbed by his statement and how he weighs his interruption in life compared to Trayvon's.
Yesterday, a special prosecutor announced the death will not yet go to a grand jury. It is still being investigated. 12 jurors and 6 alternates are being seated in the Chicago trial of the man accused of killing several members of Jennifer Hudson's family. Hudson is the actor and singer best known for the movie Dreamgirls. William Balfour is accused of killing Hudson's mother, brother, and nephew in 2008. The 30-year-old faces a maximum life sentence if convicted. 14 people were selected yesterday for the jury. Hudson's name came up frequently during questioning, although most say they could serve as unbiased members during that trial. New at noon, a story about dental x-rays that's already getting a lot of attention nationally this afternoon. A new report says dental x-rays every year might increase the risk for a common type of brain cancer. Researchers studied patients with the most frequently diagnosed type of brain tumor in the U.S., and they found those who had this exam once per year or more were 2 times more likely to have this certain kind of tumor. This exam is one that uses an x-ray film held in place between the teeth. Experts say dentists are reminded by the American Dental Association to use as little as possible radiation and take very few films. And we'll be right back.
Do you know when it's going to hit 100 degrees in Tucson, Allison?
I do, but if I told you, I'd have to kill you.
Violence. Maybe you know when it's going to hit 100 degrees here in Tucson for the first time in 2012. Head to our website, KVOA.com. Enter the Ice Break Sweepstakes, the exact date and time it's going to hit 100 at the Tucson International Airport. Winner gets an Alaskan cruise.
So what happens if there's a tie?
If there's a tie, whoever submits it first.
Okay.
So there you go. Good luck, everyone. Hey, cool sight out there this afternoon, or I should say this morning earlier. A little ring around the sun. A lot of people asking about this on Facebook, Twitter. David uploaded this picture to our KVOA.com galleries. Almost a perfect circle around the sun. What exactly is that? It's called a 22-degree circular halo. Here's what happens. We have sun passing through those high cirrus clouds we've had over the past several days. Inside those cirrus clouds are tiny stop sign shaped ice crystals. What that does is it bends the sunlight. So instead of going in a straight path, the sunlight that is, the ice crystals bend it 22 degrees. You get that halo effect around the sun. That's what the halo was earlier today, or that circle around the sun. Not a sundog. A sundog is when you have the spots on the left and the right of the sun with that halo, and there's a lot of confusion with that. So it's a halo and not a sundog. 85 right now, Tucson. Into the mid-80s for Phoenix, 84 already in Safford. Shaping up to be a warm afternoon here across southern Arizona. Mild morning, 56 what we drop down to here on this Tuesday morning. Some high clouds still hanging out here in southern Arizona, breaking up once you get south of the international border. We're still under an influence of a ridge of high pressure. This ridge, though, moving away and lurking is not one, but 2 areas of low pressure that are going to be impacting us over the next 7 days here. It's not going to come today yet, that area of low pressure. We're talking about the warmth waning away, last day into the 90s for those daytime highs. That ridge of high pressure, it's out of here by tomorrow. Front number 1 moving right on in. It's going to turn blustery, a high fire danger as well during the daytime hours tomorrow. Already a fire weather watch out for the daytime hours on Wednesday. Turning cooler as well. Round 2 comes over the weekend. Looks like some isolated showers ahead of a second front. I think the best chance of rain, though, is going to be into northern Arizona. It doesn't look like a widespread event by any means, just some spotty hit and miss showers on Saturday afternoon. No showers into the forecast here today. 90 Tucson, 89 for Green Valley, 87's Nogales and Douglas, and overnight lows tonight dropping into the 50s pretty much across the board. Only exception Douglas, you'll drop down into the upper 40s. Long story short, warm today, breezy tomorrow, cooler Thursday, Friday, and then that storm system moves in on Saturday, the second storm system that is, with a chance of isolated showers. But it's not going to ruin anybody's outdoor plans. May need the umbrella, but it's not a widespread rain.
Okay, so just plan accordingly.
Indeed.
All right, thank you, Jeff. 100 years ago today, that ill-fated Titanic left a port in England, headed for New York City. Now today, the event is being remembered. Relatives of people aboard the ship attended this solemn ceremony this morning. The Titanic was billed as the largest and fastest steamship in the world. The trip was supposed to take more than 2,200 passengers and crew to New York City. Well, that ship hit an iceberg a few days later on April 14th, 1912. More than 1,500 people died as the ship sank in the North Atlantic. Well, a cat looking for love. Up next, we meet the feline waiting in our Kitty Corner Tuesday, and there's actually 2 little kitties there. Welcome back, everybody. We have Mosley and Daisy here with us. These are both Persians, and Mosley is shaved, right?
Yes, Mosley was severely matted, so he had to be shaved. He is 1, and Miss Daisy is only 9 months.
Okay. And they both seem really mild-mannered.
They actually are. Mosley's being a little curious at the moment, which is not unusual. He's usually very friendly, though, very lovey kitty. Miss Daisy's a little more shy, but she's also very lovey if you give her just a few minutes to warm up to you.
Hey, curiosity is not a bad thing.
Yeah, they're both ready for adoption.
Exactly. You're just kind of looking at me right now, aren't you? Kind of fixated.
And what's their story? What's their backstory?
These guys came as part of a group of 6 where somebody brought them to breed and then didn't know how to properly care for them.
Okay, so you know who to call. You can call us. You can call the Humane Society if you want to adopt one of these guys, and we'll be right back. Oh, yes, we're good. Yes.
Final check of the forecast, 90 today, but cooling down the rest of the week. Breezy tomorrow, showers on Saturday. It didn't dawn on me, but this looks like Perfect, the cat from The Voice. CeeLo's cat?
Oh, yes, yes.
It does.
So call Hermitage if you want to adopt one of these adorable kitties.